Oh, hey there, guys, girls, everybody in between. Hope you're all doing awesome. You've caught me reading a brand new title, and I can think of no better way to go into this weekend than with a book talk. Maybe you want to add this to your next book list, or maybe you're still looking to find a book. But whatever the case, I just started this and I'm really loving it. It's called Endure by Alex Hutchinson. Mind, body, and the curiously elastic limits of human performance. And the one thing that drew me into this book is that last line, the limits of human performance. Now, you guys know that I'm an athlete. You guys know that like biking is sort of my thing. Um, but I think a really good athlete is also willing to study their sport. So they're always a student, they're always trying to learn some more. How can they push the limits of what they're doing, and how are they keeping up with the science behind the sport they're in? And while Alex Hutchinson is a pretty talented runner, and he's a writer for Running Mag, when you talk about endurance, it really carries over to all sports, whether you run the 100-meter or 100-mile race. All those things kind of draw on this thing he calls, which is endurance.
When you get into the book, it starts with this table of contents, which I think is really, really interesting. Just breaking down the different sections of the book. So you start with mind and muscle, looking at both like how mindset and like physical ability play into performance. Limits, so all the things that kind of get in the way of performing. And then towards the end, it kind of talks about breaking down those limits. And something I'm really interested in getting to is this idea of belief and the power of belief. That's always been super interesting to me as far as how it applies to fitness and being an athlete. Throughout this book, they tell a lot of stories, starting with the one where Nike had like this whole secret facility set out to breaking the 2-hour record for the marathon. And then it kind of gets into describing what is endurance. And I always thought that like team sports didn't really fit into that. They didn't really require endurance. Like any sport where you have timeouts or innings or quarters, they kind of give you breaks where you don't need to do that slow, long grind. But one story it tells kind of made me look at that a little bit differently. So I wanted to share that with you. So it starts right here, early on in the book. The time that elapses can be seconds, or it can be years. During the 2015 National Basketball Association playoffs, LeBron James's biggest foe was, with all due respect to Golden State defender Andre Iguodala, fatigue. He played 17,860 minutes in the preceding 5 seasons, more than 2,000 minutes ahead of anyone else in the league. In the semis, he surprisingly asked to be pulled from a game during a tense overtime period, changing his mind, drained a three-pointer followed by a running jumper with 12.8 seconds left to steal the victory, then collapsed on the floor in a widely memeified swoon after the buzzer. By game 4 of the finals, he could barely move. I gassed out, he admitted, after being held scoreless in the final quarter. It's not that he was acutely out of breath. It was the steady drip of fatigue accumulating over days, weeks, and months that had just surely pushed James to the limits of his endurance. And that's a really interesting way to look at it. So again, if you are interested in stories of how those historic moments in sport happened, if you're interested in, the mind, the body, all those things, and how they kind of play a role in your sport and your performance, I highly encourage you to pick up this book, Endure, Mind, Body, and the Curiously Elastic Limits of Human Performance by Alex Hutchinson. I'm really enjoying it right now. Maybe you will too. Final notes. Please make sure you're updating your reading logs, sharing those with me. If you are already reading a book but find this one interesting, make sure you add it to your next book list. And then, if you would like your very own one-of-a-kind custom-made bookmark by Mr. C, some of you guys notice that I paint, which means when I use watercolors, I have to test colors a lot, and that means I'm left with a whole bunch of sheets of paper that look like this, and I usually end up cutting them up and making them into funky, cool bookmarks. So if you would like one for free, that's free with a capital F, go ahead and shoot me an email or reach out during my office hours. Let me know where I can mail it to you, and it is yours. Have a good weekend, guys.